DaVo here from the Axiom Body Piercing Studio in Des Moines, Iowa, located inside the lovely Skin Kitchen. And coming up next, how to heal navel piercings. Yes, that's right. Navel piercing aftercare instructions coming up right now, so stick around. I always like to do a disclaimer at the beginning of each one of these. I'm recording this in November of 2018. If you've gotten conflicting ideas or conflicting information from your piercer, please talk to them about that before you take on these instructions. New information comes up. People have different ideas on how to heal piercings. And maybe they have a better idea. Maybe they have a worse idea. It's always a good idea to discuss that with them to see what their logic is behind what they're suggesting as far as aftercare. So, let's start off. First things first, average healing time. Navel piercing is one of the longest healing piercings there are, taking anywhere from 6 months to a year to heal completely to the point where it's no longer an open wound. When we talk about healing piercings, we're talking about that period of time that it's acceptable to infection, and extra precautions need to be taken to ensure that you don't get an infection. Shopping list. Some things you need to pick up. First off, sea salt, which you find in the baked goods aisle of any good grocery store. It's also really good on French fries. It's supposed to be healthier for you. Distilled water. You can find it in the beverage aisle. If you can't find it there, check next to the infant care section. Sometimes they hide it over there. If you're in a large department store, it might be next to the appliances, where they keep the dehumidifiers and humidifiers and irons and etc. Antimicrobial or germicidal soap. Your best option is either satin or Proven. It's a medical grade soap. You can find it at pharmacies and some drugstores. If you have difficulty locating it at first, you can always order it online through Amazon. However, if you need something to tie you over in the meantime, a good mild antibacterial liquid soap that doesn't contain a lot of moisturizers or fragrances can work. Most common or easy to find, Dial Gold antibacterial liquid soap. Understand, if it has a long description like moisturizing summer breeze or blueberry pancake surprise waterfall or some nonsense, that is not what you want. You want something that doesn't contain any of those things. For soaks, I do suggest buying plastic disposable medicine cups. You can reuse a glass over and over again, like a small shot glass or small juice glass. However, it's my experience that unless you're very diligent about cleaning them every single time, they will start to have the salt crystals collecting on the side, and that can lead to it harboring contaminants no matter how well you clean it. So it's much easier to buy those plastic, small disposable cups, use them, and then just toss them. Plenty of clean paper towels. They're going to come in handy as kind of a clean source to dry off your piercing after cleaning it and also after you've done soaks. You want to take a cup of the distilled water. When I say cup, I mean a measured cup, 8 ounces. Put it in the microwave. Heat it up at the same period of time you would if you were warming up coffee and cocoa. You want it warm, but not boiling hot, not to the point where it's painful. I usually say about the same temperature of it as you would have a nice warm bath. Drop in 1/8 of a teaspoon, 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt. What my grandmother would call a pinch. Let it dissolve. Should taste about as salty as your own tears. Then transfer that into that medicine cup that we talked about earlier. Bend over your waist, press the rim of the glass against the area, rock backwards, and let it soak for roughly about 10 minutes. You want to do it twice daily. You want to do it before you do the cleaning in the shower for a couple of different reasons. First off, it's going to kind of help break up some of that discharge and make it a little easier to clean. The other reason is we want to rinse off the salt mixture. Leaving the salt crystals against the piercing can cause issues. It's one of the reasons I don't suggest cleaning with one of those pre-bought cans of saline solution where you just put it on a little Q-tip and you rub it around. It will start to deposit, collect, and can agitate the piercing itself if it is not rinsed off properly. And that's the part that most people skip. What it helps to do is it draws waste and debris from the piercing, increases circulation and flow of oxygen, which can help with healing. That's one of the reasons why we want you to do it with a warm substance opposed to a spray. The salt actually contains minerals and nutrients that are helpful in your body's production of skin cells, and it really helps to soothe it. Piercings, no matter how well you take care of them, can tend to go through these grumpy phases where, for no apparent reason at all, suddenly it's sore and tender out of the blue. And this is one of those things you can do to make it feel better. Cleaning. You want to do this in the shower. First off, take care of all your normal bathing duties first, just in case you get some hair product or body wash or something on it. You're rinsing it off right away. Once you've done that, wash your hands, spray the water onto the genital area to remove any discharge or anything that's deposited on the jewelry. Take the soap, squirt out a pearl drop on the palm of your hand. It's not take a lot, just a little bit. Lather it up so you're diluting it, because we don't want to put it on there full strength. Don't just pour the stuff over there. You need to lather it up. Apply it to the piercing area. Let it stay in contact for roughly about 30 seconds, which is equivalent to saying happy birthday or Mary had a little lamb twice. Rinse under running water, and then once you get out of the shower, pat it dry with a clean paper towel. Both of those things you want to do twice daily for at least the next 6 months, or until you stop seeing the discharge collecting and depositing on the jewelry. And the piercing also get this kind of indented or ingrown look to it. Seems sealed to you? Not sure? Stop by and talk to your piercer. They're happy to take a look at it and go, yay, you did a great job, or go, hey, we need to give that a little bit more time. It's not quite healed yet. So let's go over that. You're going to be doing hot compresses twice daily for 10 minutes. I generally suggest doing one in the morning, one at night for 10 minutes. Then cleaning in the shower, usually immediately afterwards, or at least within a reasonable amount of time, with a mild with a germicidal soap or antimicrobial soap. And that's for the full healing period. Let's get into cross-contamination. Cross-contamination is where you take something, like touching the wall, and then touch the piercing. Anything that's on the wall can be introduced into the piercing, which is an open wound. So we don't want to do that. And we do that by doing something called cross-contamination prevention. This is common sense stuff your mom should have probably taught you. First thing, always wash your hands before you handle the jewelry. Try to handle it by the ends whenever possible. The only time you need to have any contact with that piercing is when you're cleaning it and when you're checking the tightness of the ball. If you've been pierced with a curved barbell with the two balls on both ends, in some cases both ends do come unscrewed, so you do want to check the tightness on those on a regular basis. They can come unscrewed sometimes, and they usually fall off at the worst possible time and land in the most disgusting thing within 20 feet of you, where even if you could get the jewelry back, you're not necessarily going to want to put it back in. Or you just flat out lose it, and you can't find a piece of jewelry to get in there right away. So always check the tightness on a regular basis. Couple hints, make sure you, when you're tightening the ball on, make sure your hands are really well washed to get all the oils and anything else that's on you, on your fingertips. Or wear latex gloves or something that has some texture to it, because sometimes you can get a much better, tighter connection there with a little bit of added force. The other thing is, once you have those gloves around the house, you'll find all kinds of other usage for those gloves. No oral contact or exchanging of bodily fluids on near around the piercing until it heals. That does include your own saliva. I've never understood why people think it's safe to lick their thumb and clean things. Don't do that. It's disgusting, and your saliva is full of bacteria. Do not move the piercing. At some point in your life, probably it involved going to the mall and getting your ears pierced, they told you to constantly spin or rotate the jewelry during the healing process. There is absolutely no benefit to doing that. In fact, it's just going to increase your likelihood of infection by overhandling the jewelry and possibly dragging contaminants into the piercing itself. The other issue is that it can cause new skin growth to break loose. As as your piercing forms, the tunnel that surrounds the jewelry and closes up that open wound, it can be very thin, very fragile, and often very tight. So if you go in there and start forcing it all the time, chances are you're going to dislodge skin growth, sometimes without even knowing it. If you do have to adjust it for whatever reason, always do it immediately after you get done cleaning in the shower. Make sure your hands are well washed. And if there's even an inkling of pain or discomfort in moving the jewelry, or you feel like you're forcing it, like there's some resistance, don't move it. Give it time, let it loosen up. Usually a week or so, it'll be to the point where it moves freely again. It's a good sign when it's tight. It means that your body's producing the tissue like we want it to. But if you go in there and force it, you're going to dislodge skin growth and start the healing process all over again. Keep your environment clean. Clothing, bedding, towels, anything that may come in contact with it. A way to get around constantly changing your sheets is put on a clean nightshirt or t-shirt before you go to bed, just to be on the safe side. Keep pets away from it. Don't let them sleep in the bed with you. They're just a germ magnet. They're just going to draw all the crap they've come in contact with for that day and put it right there on your clean linen. I know they love to snuggle, but it's not a good idea with a fresh piercing or even any open wound for that matter. Do not submerge the piercing in bodies of water you cannot control the quality of. Now let's think on that. Where can you control the quality of the water? Your own bathtub. That's about it. You do not want to submerge it in natural waters of any type, swimming pools, hot tubs, or anything in that direction. No matter how well they may claim that it's clean and maintained, it makes absolutely no difference. That wound is open, it's a path into your body, and there are probably going to be contaminants in there, especially if anyone else has been in that body of water. Abuse. This piercing, because of its location, can get a lot of abuse. It's one of the reasons why it is notorious for a problematic healing period, or problematic heal in general, and a much longer healing period. Things to avoid are things like high-waisted pants, since they have come back into style. You know, the ones that come up to your armpits, that have that waistband that's a direct contact with your navel. Do not wear them during the healing process. Whoever came back with that style, I curse you. It was possibly, when I first started piercing back in the 90s and the navel craze was in full steam, it was my biggest enemy. So, no pants with high waistbands. Also, avoid clothing that's constrictive, abrasive, or blocks the flow of oxygen to the piercing. Tights would be a good example of this, especially if they're made of unnatural fibers. Either roll them down or cut a hole out so your piercing can breathe. Don't sleep on the piercing. Sleep on your side or your back. If you're a stomach sleeper like me, you're absolutely going to hate healing the piercing for that reason. Try to figure out something that's going to keep you from turning over onto your stomach. I've found where using a body pillow and then wrapping my arms and locking my elbows keeps me from turning over throughout the night, and it still feels comforting, I guess is the way to put it. I've had clients claim to have good results by using putting a pillow between their legs. I also had some that have claimed that they get elevated off the bed by putting pillows across their upper chest and their thighs, I guess, area. Anyway, to me that sounds very uncomfortable, but if you can figure it out and it does keep that piercing off the bed, good job. Jewelry. You want to leave that initial piece in the piercing until it is healed. After it's healed, if you wish, you can take it out and replace another piece. However, you do want to leave something in it at all times. Roughly next 2 to 3 years, only taking out to replace. Understand, anytime you remove that jewelry for any extended period of time, your body's going to more than likely reconnect the tissue and close the piercing. So it's a good idea. If you like it, do leave something in it. Most reputable piercers will never charge to change jewelry. In most cases, they'll sterilize it for you too. It's my experience that, especially if you buy the jewelry from them, that they'll usually change it for free or maybe a small charge. When it comes to being out jewelry, there's a lot of things on the market I'll politely refer to as novelty jewelry. A lot of it's very inexpensive, has extremely large gem settings, things that dangle off of it, bells, whistles, hooks, fish acres, and just about anything you can possibly imagine. That stuff really might be okay for like a one night special occasion, but for day-to-day wear, you want to consider what's going to fit comfortably inside my navel and what is not going to get caught and snagged on everything it comes in contact with. Usually the more simplistic the jewelry is, the better off you are. Generally with navel piercings, I suggest either the old-fashioned captive bead ring or beaded ring, or a curved barbell with two balls on both ends. There are a lot of shaped objects on the market. Fairly inexpensive in most cases, have large gym settings, maybe a Playboy bunny, maybe your favorite sports team, maybe a leprechaun, whatever. The problem with that stuff is that even though the packaging is going to say something that sounds good, like surgical stainless steel or titanium or what have you, they're generally only talking about the post section of the jewelry. They're not talking about the actual gym setting or ornament. So what they generally make those out of is substandard materials like chrome-plated plastic, pewter, tin, pot metal. All those things can cause some reactions in certain people. A lot of people are allergic to either a component of those alloys. The other issue is some of them contain a small amount of lead. Having lead against your body for a long period of time can cause issues. So when in doubt, always ask. And also, if you're seeing something, not quite sure if it's going to work or not, don't hesitate to contact myself or your piercer. We're generally very happy to give you advice regardless of where you're spending your money. What we want, and our ultimate goal, is to see you heal out a piercing, and continue to put good jewelry in it so that you can enjoy that piercing for the rest of your life. And nothing is more frustrating than watching somebody heal out a piercing, do a great job, it looks beautiful, and then they go out and they buy something that just totally destroys the piercing. So, when in doubt, ask. Also, if you're looking for something very specific, you can go to my website. I list roughly 4 different places I suggest buying jewelry online. The reason why I like them is they list the manufacturer right next to the jewelry, so you know where it came from, who made it, what the quality of the jewelry is, and what it's actually made out of. Opposed to going to the mall or a department store where you have no idea where they're buying this stuff in bulk. I doubt anybody that works there has a clue where it comes from either. Lastly, infections. Infections are very infrequent. Something creeps up and doesn't seem right to you, get in contact with your piercer, myself if that's the case, or seek professional medical advice. 2 worst things you can do. Put off getting taken care of because it's just gonna get worse. The other thing is taking the jewelry out. A lot of people's misconception that removal of the jewelry always makes everything go back to normal. The problem with that thinking is how your body heals infections and what happens when you do take that jewelry out. Your body heals infections by pushing infected tissue and fluids out through the wounds while replacing with healthy tissue below. When you remove the jewelry, which is the only thing keeping those 2 holes open, they can close and possibly trap that infection, infected fluids, tissue, and everything deep inside the piercing in some cases, which can lead to 1 of 2 things happening. Worst case scenario, it turns into an inward traveling infection, begins actually spreading to other tissue, if left untreated, could possibly turn septic or cause permanent tissue damage. More commonly, your body will try to isolate the infection by developing a cyst or an abscess, and then slowly and very painfully pushing it to the surface. In both cases, you're definitely going to need medical treatment, and it's going to involve having it lance and drain. If you leave the jewelry in, it allows a drainage point for the infection. It also usually makes it a little bit more treatable. However, if you have any problems, any questions, something doesn't seem right to you, always contact your piercer, and when you don't feel like you're getting the right idea, go see a doctor. It's your body. Now, common reactions. It's not uncommon to see some signs of infection like discomfort, discolorization, heat, tenderness to touch, inflammation, swelling, off and on for that first couple weeks as your body accepts the jewelry and gets over the trauma of the piercing. Usually it can be, for some people, a couple days, some people a couple weeks. Everybody's a little bit different. It's also not uncommon to see a tad bit of bleeding anywhere from 1 to 5 days. Usually this kind of collects around the piercing holes. Navels are not really notorious for it. They generally don't bleed. One of the reasons why they take so long to heal is there's just not a lot of blood traffic in that part of your body. So they don't bleed as much. Things you can do to help you heal faster. Reduce the amount of stress in your life. Stay relaxed, stay calm. There's no reason to get excited. Get plenty of rest and eat a well-balanced diet. Stay healthy. Give your body not only the rest and that extra energy it needs to heal itself, but also the nutrients that it needs to do so. Sports activities, etc. If you're doing something and it hurts, stop doing it until it doesn't hurt. Give your body time to recover from the piercing and start healing that tissue. That pretty much covers it. Hope you learned something. That's the whole point of this. If you learned something, or you're curious about something, or feel like I didn't answer something, leave a comment. I generally read all of them and I will reply to just about every one of them. So, do please leave a comment if you think like I've missed something, or maybe you don't agree with something I've said. Happy to do that. I do this solely for education, and for my clients and for everyone else. Also, please like the video and subscribe. We do post videos here on a regular basis relating to body piercing and tattooing. Most of the body piercing stuff is on an educational level. Haven't really gotten comfortable with the idea of showing myself piercing people all the time. Don't know if that's really a good idea. Working on it, thinking about it. Anyway, but we do offer the weekly updates, which kind of has the news from me of what I'm up to, including specials and etc. if you're in the Des Moines area. Also, we do the Tattoo of the Week, where Wesley and Jack of the Skin Kitchen pick out a tattoo that they like or they enjoy doing each week and kind of talk about why they liked it or what's special to them about it. So, subscribe. Hit the notification bell to make sure that you get the notification that lets you know that we posted a video. And I hope to see you for your piercing needs in the future.